There is a wall in upstate New York. Concrete, steel reinforced, built in 1845. For 170 years, nothing got through it. Not until the night of June 5th, 2015. That night, two convicted murderers, men who were supposed to die inside those walls, slipped through a hole the size of a man's shoulders, crawled through pipes that hadn't been checked in decades, climbed up through a manhole on a public street, and disappeared into the dark. What happened next was the largest prison manhunt in the history of New York State. Over 1,500 law enforcement officers, more than 2,500 leads chased down. 23 days. But the escape itself, the part that happened inside those walls, that story is so much stranger than the manhunt. Clinton Correctional Facility sits in the town of Dannemora, New York, 40 miles south of the Canadian border, 45 miles from Burlington, Vermont, surrounded on all sides by thick forest and mountains. Locals call it Little Siberia. The prison had been running since 1845, a maximum security facility, one of the toughest in America. The kind of place you don't escape from, the kind of place you go to disappear. Richard Matt was 48 years old. He had been in and out of prison most of his adult life. He was convicted of murder, kidnapping a man, torturing him, killing him, and then cutting his body into pieces to dispose of it. He was serving 25 years to life. David Sweat was 34. He had shot and killed a sheriff's deputy in Broome County, New York during a burglary. He was serving life without the possibility of parole. Both men were housed in the honor block. The honor block was reserved for inmates who behaved, inmates who earned privileges, inmates who were trusted, within the limits of a maximum security prison. It was that trust that would destroy everything. Because somewhere inside that block, a plan was already forming. Her name was Joyce Mitchell, 51 years old, a civilian employee at Clinton Correctional Facility. She supervised the tailor shop, one of several work areas where honor block inmates were allowed during the day. She had worked there for years. She was married. She had a family. She went home every night. And somewhere along the way, she fell under Richard Matt's influence. Matt was charming, manipulative. He had spent a lifetime reading people and using what he found. He used it on Joyce Mitchell. He asked for small things at first, favors, baked goods brought in for the inmates, small privileges, things that seemed harmless. But then the requests changed. According to investigators, Mitchell began buying tools. First a screwdriver bit, then hacksaw blades, purchased at a Walmart near her home. She brought them to work in her bag. And then she did something that no one would think to check. She hid the hacksaw blades inside frozen hamburger meat, placed the meat in the tailor shop refrigerator. A corrections officer, who had no idea what was inside, carried it to Matt and Sweat's unit. Because inmates in the honor block were allowed to cook their own meals. The tools went through the prison's metal detector, because they were inside frozen meat. Nobody thought to look. Mitchell eventually admitted to smuggling hacksaw blades, chisels, a punch tool, and a screwdriver into the prison this way. She also bought 6 hacksaw blades separately and gave them directly to Matt. But the tools were only part of the plan. Mitchell had agreed to something far more dangerous. She would be their getaway driver, and according to investigators, she had discussed something else entirely. She had discussed killing her husband. While Joyce Mitchell was supplying the tools, David Sweat was doing something extraordinary. He was engineering an escape route through a 170-year-old prison, using nothing but what could be smuggled in a package of frozen meat. Here is exactly what happened, according to the official state investigation. Sweat and Matt's cells were in the honor block. Behind the back wall of each cell was a narrow utility space, just wide enough to move through. Sweat cut through the back wall of his cell using a hacksaw. He did it while a portable television played loudly to cover the sound. He worked mostly at night. Once through his cell wall, Sweat found himself in the utility space. He used the pipes running through it as handholds and descended 3 floors down to the subterranean level of the prison. Down there, beneath the prison, was a labyrinth. A network of old tunnels, steam pipes, electrical conduits, infrastructure from the 1800s. Nobody had mapped it properly in years. Nobody had checked it in longer. For months, Sweat explored those tunnels alone, every night, for hours. He found a sledgehammer that had been left down there and forgotten. He used it to break through walls. He found a large steam pipe that ran toward the outer wall. The pipe was 18 to 24 inches wide, and it ran, almost perfectly, toward the outside. But there was a problem. During winter, steam ran through that pipe. No one could crawl through it while it was operating. So Sweat waited. He cut a hole in the pipe during the cold months, working in the heat, slowly, carefully, knowing that when summer came and the heat was turned off, the pipe would be passable. He planned for seasons. For 3 months, Sweat prepared the route, testing it, refining it, making sure every obstacle was cleared. Richard Matt barely fit through the steam pipe. Sweat had to help push him. At the end of the steam pipe, a manhole. On a public road, 400 feet beyond the prison's outer wall. On the night of June 5, 2015, David Sweat decided the route was ready. Shortly after 11 p.m. on the night of June 5th, Richard Matt and David Sweat slipped through the holes they had cut in the backs of their cells. They moved through the utility space behind the cells, descended the pipes to the subterranean level, navigated the tunnel system they had spent months preparing, squeezed through the steam pipe, and pushed open a manhole cover on the street outside. At 5:17 a.m., during the morning bed check, a corrections officer found 2 cells empty. 2 stuffed dummies had been left in the beds. Sock puppets, shaped to look like sleeping men. And it had worked. Nobody had checked closely enough. The alarm went out. 2 convicted murderers, both considered extremely dangerous to the public, were gone. And Joyce Mitchell, the woman who was supposed to be waiting outside with a car, with clothes, with everything they needed, had checked herself into a hospital. Panic attacks. She told her husband, "I was in over my head." Matt and Sweat were on foot, in the dark, in the forests of upstate New York. What followed was the largest manhunt in New York State history. Over 1,500 law enforcement officers flooded the area around Dannemora. State Police, Border Patrol, FBI, U.S. Marshals, National Guard. Every road leading out of the area was blockaded. Every cabin, every hunting lodge, every structure within 20 miles was searched. More than 2,500 leads were followed up. For 23 days, nothing. Inside the woods, the 2 men were surviving on what they could find. They broke into a cabin and collected supplies. They ate what was there, but they were not doing well. Sweat would later tell investigators that Matt had become a problem on the run. Matt was out of shape. He had been drinking, breaking into camps and finding alcohol. He was slowing everything down. On June 26th, 20 days after the escape, a driver near Route 30 in Malone, New York, reported something to police. His RV had a bullet hole in it, and there was a man in the woods nearby. A U.S. Customs tactical team moved in. Richard Matt was confronted in the forest. A shootout. Richard Matt was shot and killed. 2 days later, June 28th, New York State Police Sergeant Jay Cook was driving near the town of Constable, 5 miles from the Canadian border. He saw a man jogging down a road. He recognized him. David Sweat. Cook stopped. Sweat ran across a field toward the tree line. Cook fired twice. Sweat was shot twice in the torso and taken into custody, alive. 23 days, hundreds of miles of forest, thousands of officers. And in the end, it came down to a sergeant, a field, and 2 gunshots. Joyce Mitchell was arrested 6 days after the escape. She pleaded guilty to promoting prison contraband and criminal facilitation. She was sentenced to between 2 1/3 to 7 years in prison. The plan she had helped design, the plan that included killing her own husband and fleeing to Mexico, had collapsed the moment she checked herself into a hospital. She served nearly 5 years and was released on parole in February 2020. Corrections officer Gene Palmer, who had carried the frozen hamburger meat to the inmates without knowing what was inside, was also charged. He pleaded guilty to official misconduct and was sentenced to 6 months in jail. David Sweat, who had already been serving life without parole, pleaded guilty to escape charges. He received additional time and was transferred to a different prison. He remains incarcerated today. But the escape left a wound that went far deeper than 2 men and a woman in court. The New York State Inspector General's investigation found what officials called systemic failures. Guards who were not conducting proper checks, supervisors who were not supervising, an underground infrastructure that hadn't been adequately inspected in years. They found that Sweat had been going down into those tunnels at night for months, and nobody had noticed. Not once. In the months and years that followed, New York overhauled its prison security protocols. New inspection systems, new oversight procedures, cell checks that required actual visual confirmation, not just a glance at a shape under a blanket. An escape that should have been impossible had exposed exactly how possible it was. Clinton Correctional Facility is still standing. The walls are the same. The guard towers are the same. The town of Dannemora is the same. But underneath those walls, the tunnels have been sealed. The steam pipes have been inspected. The manhole on the road outside has been secured. Because that is what this story ultimately is about. Not 2 men with hacksaws. Not a woman who got in over her head. Not a sledgehammer found in a forgotten tunnel. It's about what happens when a system is trusted so completely that no one checks whether it's still working. David Sweat spent months in those tunnels. Months. Every night. And the prison slept. The wall didn't fail. The system did.